Hey guys, so I'm gonna make my apple pie today. So I got some pie crust because I saw it on a different video on YouTube, and I tried it for my peach pie and it was delicious, just probably better than or about the same as making it homemade. So it's a lot easier and a lot less time consuming, so I decided to use this instead. Bless you. So I just roll this out on the sides. I am going to make a top crumble though, just because I only have one of these left. So as I'm doing this, I also had my apples there in here soaking. They've got sugar and cinnamon in here. And you just leave them sitting. I think I left them sitting for about an hour, hour and a half, just so that the sugar kind of makes it kind of like syrupy. And then after you let it get all like that, I take it to the stove and I let it cook down. I don't know how long, maybe like medium heat for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I'm not really 100% sure. But I do like to put down the kind of stretch over my sides a little bit. That's one thing I don't like about this pie crust. It's not as big as how I could make it homemade, and my pie pan is pretty big, so it's bigger than average. Anyways, the apples I did, I think I did 4 apples. So after I get my pie crust in, I got my oven set to 350, and I'm going to go ahead and start doing the filling and everything. And you take these and you put it on the stove with some butter, and you just kind of let it melt and get all together and everything. And then while that's doing that, I'm going to go and do my pie crust like on the crumble on the top. In here, I've got my butter melted, and I put a little bit of brown sugar in there just to give it a little bit more taste. And I'm going to put my apples in here with the sugar and all that, so it can kind of melt down a little bit when you put it in the pie, so it's not so watery. So let me go ahead and do that. So I just put all my apples in here and everything. Let it spread it out. And while that's, starting to heat up and everything, I'm going to go ahead and start on my crumble. Okay, so I have everything measured out already, and so that way it would just be easier. And what I need is 1 cup of flour, 1/3 cup of brown sugar, a half teaspoon of cinnamon, which I'm just going to eyeball, and then I needed some salt, which is the same amount of salt, so I'm just going to eyeball that too. And then it said 1 stick of butter. Well, it said 1 stick of unsalted butter, and I do not have unsalted butter, so I'm just going to have to make do with salted. And you just take your fork and you kind of just, I would put this in my my KitchenAid mixer over there, but I just don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to clean up all those dishes when I can do it probably just as easy with my hand. So you just want to blend this up until it becomes crumbles, and I'm going to let the apples over there simmer for a little bit, and when they get done, I will get back to you. Alright, so now I am pretty much done with these apples. They're starting to caramelize, so it's still a little bit more watery than I want it to be, but it's thicker, so it shouldn't be too bad. And I'm going to transfer it over here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over here. It's still a little hot, so you want it to cool down a little bit. And I'm going to pour it into my pan. I'm going to also, hold on 1 second. Alright, so I poured all that in there, but then now I need to kind of like even out all the apples so that every bite can get one. Sorry, I had to deal with a crying child. If y'all are mothers, y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so now I've got this, like, it's more of a dough than a crumble, which I hate. So I tried to add more flour to it, and it didn't really work out well. So hopefully it still works. I'm just kind of trying to crumble it with my hands. I don't use a recipe with my with actually doing the filling of the pie, but I always use a pie, like a recipe to do the crumble on the top. And I have not found one yet that I particularly like. I had one a couple years ago before he bought this house, and I loved it. It was the best recipe I had found, and I used it all the time, but for some reason, I don't know where that recipe went. I have looked in all my recipe books. I have looked everywhere for it, and I cannot find it anywhere. So I am trying to look at all these different ones, but I don't make pies that much, like except for around the holidays. So I don't try out any more recipes because I don't have many recipes. You know, I don't have enough pies. I don't make enough to find the right recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the rest of this, and then I'll get back to you when I put it in the oven. Okay, so I've finished with this pie crust, and it is definitely not my best work. If anybody has a recipe for the crumble that's really good and crumbly, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the oven, and I'll show you the results when it gets out. Alright, so my apple pie, it is done. Still sizzling. So there's what it looks like. Now I've got to wait for it to cool off so then I can let Robbie be my guinea pig and see how good it is. So when it cools down, and we're going to get what he thinks about it. Alright, Robbie, so how is it?
A 10. I give you a 10.
Well then take a picture. Take a bite of it. Thank you. And that is how you make a good apple pie.